I was in the kitchen reheating old pasta when I heard it. The sound of a zipper being pulled in the hallway, followed by heels clicking. Light. Confident. Not the sound of someone sneaking in. The sound of someone who thinks they won. She didn't expect me to be awake. She didn't expect the packed bags by the door either. And she definitely didn't expect me to say, "You left at 6 to get space. You came back at midnight smelling like whiskey and strangers. So tell me, do I look like a fool to you, or just a backup plan?" She laughed. I swear to God, she laughed. Then came the line I'll never forget. The one I wish I could unhear. "Why aren't you sleeping? I already got the attention I needed tonight." That was the moment, right there, when I realized this wasn't her first night choosing someone else. It was just her first time admitting it out loud. And still, somehow, I felt like the guilty one. But that's not even the craziest part. Because what she said next, it made me question everything, not just my marriage, but my entire reality. She didn't flinch. She just tossed her keys on the counter, kicked off her heels like she owned the place, and walked past the duffel bags I'd packed earlier that evening. She looked down at them briefly and smirked. "You packed my things? Cute. What? You watched a breakup video and got inspired." That was her response. Not guilt. Not panic. Not even fake confusion. Just contempt. Sarcasm. Like I was the dramatic one for having boundaries. She poured herself a glass of wine, the bottle I'd been saving for our anniversary next month. She took a sip, leaned on the kitchen counter, and said it again, slower this time. "Seriously, why aren't you sleeping? You're not exactly someone I needed tonight." There was that word again. Needed. Like I was a tool. A charger she forgot to bring. A backup sweater. Not a person. Not a husband. That's when something cracked. Not loud. Not explosive. Just quietly inside me. Like a snapped guitar string. I leaned on the table, gripping the edge like it was the only thing keeping me upright. And I asked the one question I never thought I'd say out loud. "How long have you been resenting me?" She didn't answer. Instead, she looked at me the way you look at someone who's trying to solve a puzzle that's already missing pieces. Then she shrugged. "Probably since the first time I realized you'd never leave." That's the part that stunned me. Not the betrayal. Not even the cheating. Because yeah, I'd suspected that for months. But the calculated cruelty. The awareness. The weaponization of my loyalty. I was never her partner. I was her safety net. Her emotional landlord. Her placeholder until something more exciting knocked on her door or unzipped her dress. She walked into the living room and turned on the TV. Some dating show was playing. I stood there frozen, watching her laugh at people getting dumped on screen, like the irony didn't even register. I wanted to scream, throw something, demand answers. But instead, I whispered, "I think I finally see you." She muted the TV. "Then maybe it's time you see yourself too." And with that, she walked into the bedroom and closed the door behind her, like nothing had happened. But something had happened. Something irreversible. Because the next morning, I woke up to silence. And her phone, left behind, unlocked, and glowing on the kitchen table. And what I found inside, that's when the real nightmare started. The weirdest part? I wasn't even looking for it. When I walked into the kitchen that morning, she was gone. No note. No text. Just silence, sun filtering through the blinds. And her phone, sitting face up on the table, screen lit, like it wanted me to look. I didn't touch it at first. Not out of respect. Out of fear. Because I knew once I picked it up, once I scrolled, things wouldn't go back to normal. Not even the broken version of normal we'd been surviving on. But it buzzed. Once. Then again. "Dennis. Last night was insane. Hope your husband's still in denial. Dennis. Can't stop thinking about you walking away like that. Boss move." I didn't scroll further. I didn't need to. My hands started shaking. Not from anger. Not yet. It was grief. Like something just died and no one else noticed. I took the phone outside, sat on the back porch, and just stared at the screen until it went dark. For the first time, I realized I didn't know who I'd married. Not really. Because the woman in those messages wasn't cruel out of impulse. She was strategic. Cold. Laughing behind my back with a guy I didn't even know existed 2 weeks ago. Then it hit me. I opened her photo gallery. There weren't hundreds of selfies. There weren't even obvious pictures of them together. She was smarter than that. But one folder, buried inside another, caught my eye. Documents. Inside were scanned receipts, flight itineraries, hotel confirmations, all under her name. None with me. Dates lined up perfectly with business trips, she claimed were mandatory. One was from last month, when she swore she'd been sick at her mom's place. She was in Portland, at a boutique hotel, with room service for two. I started piecing it all together. Every headache, every sudden meeting, every cold shoulder, and I'm tired. They weren't random. They were part of a script. A carefully written script designed to wear me down until I stopped asking questions. And it worked. I had become so numb, so passive, that even when the truth was screaming in front of me, I needed a phone to spell it out. I don't know how long I sat there. Long enough for my coffee to go cold. Long enough for the fear to burn out and leave something worse, clarity. She didn't love me. She tolerated me, used me, hid in the safety I provided while building a second life somewhere else. And I wasn't going to confront her with rage. I wasn't going to scream or throw the phone at a wall. That would make me easy to dismiss. Emotional. Weak. No, I was going to wait. Because I knew something she didn't. I knew about next Saturday. And that changed everything. She thought she was 3 steps ahead. But she made one mistake. She forgot I listen more than I talk. 2 weeks ago, she had a phone call on speaker while folding laundry. She didn't realize I was in the next room fixing the Wi-Fi router. Her friend Brittany was on the line, asking if she was still going away with Dennis on the 16th. My wife casually said, "Yeah, I booked that weeks ago. He's handling the car. I just need the cash." That was it. A throwaway line, nothing more. But I remembered. Not because I was suspicious at the time, but because she'd told me she was scheduled to work that Saturday for an emergency audit at her firm. When I reminded her about our friend's barbecue, she said, "Sorry, I really can't miss it." I believed her. I always did. Until now. So I circled the 16th on my calendar. No confrontation. No accusations. I wanted to see if she'd lie to my face again. Spoiler, she did. Friday night, she packed a suitcase while I pretended to sleep. She kissed me on the cheek, like she was off to war or something, and whispered, "I'll be back late tomorrow night. Don't wait up." She even had the audacity to wear the gold necklace I gave her on our 2nd anniversary. That part burned. The moment the front door closed and her car pulled away, I started the engine of my own plan. And before you ask, no, I didn't follow her. I didn't need to. Technology had already solved that problem for me. You see, 3 days earlier, I had slipped a spare AirTag into the lining of her carry-on. She'd never notice it. The location popped up within seconds. She wasn't headed to her downtown office. She was headed north, right off the interstate, straight into vacation territory. By 10:42 a.m., I had her exact location, a spa resort known for private villas and romantic packages. I Googled it. Couples massages. Camelot room service. They even had a no-questions-asked policy at check-in. Of course they did. I didn't drive there. I had no interest in busting down the door or causing a scene. That's what people in reality shows do. I wasn't after drama. I was after documentation. I called a private investigator. His name was Wallace. Retired cop. Quiet. Efficient. No trench coat nonsense. He got there by 1 p.m. Parked across the street. Used a drone. Took photos. Sent me everything in real time. At 1:38 p.m., I received the first photo of her sitting by the pool, laughing. Not alone. Dennis was there, shirtless, holding a cocktail, rubbing her leg like it was his. That was the moment something inside me switched off completely. No more begging. No more wondering what I did wrong. No more me. Just ice. Stillness. I called our bank and froze the joint credit card. Then I emailed our lawyer, the one she introduced me to years ago when we were just talking about wills. I asked for a consultation. The subject line was one word, Saturday. And just like that, her perfect little escape turned into the beginning of her unraveling. The photos kept coming. Her and Dennis at the pool. Her holding his sunglasses. Her climbing into a private cabana. I watched it unfold like a live-streamed betrayal. Silent, pixelated, undeniable. But here's the strangest part. I didn't cry. I didn't scream into a pillow or punch a wall. I just sat there, staring at her digital double life while stirring cold coffee. I didn't even recognize her anymore. The woman in those pictures wasn't my wife. She was someone else entirely. Someone relaxed, unburdened, almost glowing. Meanwhile, I'd been shrinking for months, walking on eggshells, second-guessing every word, apologizing for things I never did. And now I knew why. She wasn't growing distant. She was already gone. But here's where it gets strange. After everything I saw, after the lies, the manipulation, the betrayal, my first real instinct wasn't revenge. It was strategy. Because when you discover the truth, you only get one real shot at deciding what to do with it. Blow up or build your escape. She expected rage. She expected drama. She was hoping for it, honestly, because then she could flip the narrative and call me unstable. Instead, I started writing an email. Not to her. Not to Dennis. To her boss. Why? Because I suddenly remembered she once told me, drunk on wine during a boring wedding, that Dennis was a former client. Someone her firm had just stopped working with for legal reasons. She joked that if anyone ever found out they were still in touch, it could get messy. That joke aged poorly. I didn't send the email. Not yet. But I saved it as a draft. I wasn't looking to destroy her. I just wanted leverage. Something to hold while I quietly stepped out of the burning building of our marriage with my dignity intact. And then my phone buzzed again. It was her. Not a call. A selfie. She was smiling. A champagne glass in hand. No caption. No shame. Just a photo. Like she forgot I existed. Or maybe like she remembered and wanted to rub it in. And that's when I knew she had no clue what was coming. There's something twisted about getting a smiling photo from your wife while she's on a secret getaway with another man. It wasn't even subtle. She wore the necklace I gave her. Same background as the resort Wallace had just sent me footage from. Same white wine glass. Same poolside chair Dennis had been sitting in an hour earlier. She sent it like it was nothing. Like I didn't matter. And that's exactly what made it so useful. Because now I had a time-stamped image. A direct link between her and the location. Between her and Dennis. Between her and this version of herself she clearly thought would never catch up to her real life. But the thing is, digital ghosts never disappear. They sit quietly, waiting. And so did I. That night, I cooked dinner for one. I didn't check in. I didn't respond. I left her on read. I wanted her to feel that silent stretch. I wanted her to wonder whether I was unraveling or planning. Because that's when the cracks start forming. Not from confrontation, but from calm. I logged into our shared cloud storage, something she probably forgot existed. She used to sync her photos there before she moved everything over to her private device. But she never deleted the old albums. I found screenshots, calendar invites, even a PDF she'd once sent to a friend titled, "Things I Need to Feel Alive Again." In it, she listed 4 bullet points. Autonomy, passion, risk, escape. Not one of those things had my name on them. It wasn't even personal. That's what stung most. I wasn't someone she hated. I was just irrelevant to the version of her she'd been chasing. That kind of betrayal doesn't shout. It whispers. It poisons slow. I poured a drink, opened a blank document, and titled it Exit Plan. I made a list of accounts to separate, subscriptions to cancel, passwords to reset. I called a locksmith and scheduled a full rekeying for next week. I emailed the lawyer again and moved our meeting to Tuesday instead of Friday. I didn't want to wait anymore. By the time she came back, the house would still look like home, but it wouldn't be hers anymore. The last thing I did before going to bed was take her smiling selfie and save it in a hidden folder titled For Court. Because I wasn't just preparing for a breakup. I was preparing for war. When she came back Sunday night, she was humming. No apology. No explanation. Just a breezy, lazy hum. Like she'd spent the weekend at a yoga retreat, not wrapped around a man who wasn't her husband. She set her bag down by the door and casually asked, "You eat yet?" As if the last 48 hours hadn't happened. As if I hadn't watched her entire double life in real time. I didn't answer. She walked into the kitchen and opened the fridge like it was just another night. She didn't notice the empty wine rack. I'd tossed all her bottles. She didn't notice the missing key hooks. I'd already rekeyed the front and back doors. Her copy wouldn't work tomorrow. She grabbed a soda, leaned against the counter, and gave me that look. The one she used to give me when she was pretending to be affectionate. Except now, she didn't even fake warmth. She just looked curious, a little suspicious. Like she could tell something had shifted but couldn't name it yet. "Everything okay?" she asked. I nodded once. Calm. Detached. Dead behind the eyes. She smiled like she was testing how far she could still push. "You've been quiet," she said, sipping her drink. "You mad I went offline?" I finally spoke, but only 2 words. "You lied." She blinked. Just for a second. Then gave me a fake confused laugh. "What are you talking about?" "I know about Portland," I said. And that was it. Her entire face changed. Not panic. Not regret. Just calculation. Like she was trying to decide which version of reality would give her the most control. I don't know what you think you saw, but I cut her off. I don't think. I know. I have photos. I have timestamps. I know about Dennis. I know about the spa. And I know about the things you said behind my back. She set her drink down slowly. Silence stretched between us. I let her sit in it. She tried again. Look, I didn't mean for it to. No, I said. You meant it exactly the way it happened. You just didn't mean to get caught. And that was the first time she had no comeback. Her mouth opened, then closed. Her hand reached for the soda, then dropped. For the first time in years, she looked unprepared. Good, because this time I was. She stepped forward, cautiously. So what happens now? I stared at her, and for the first time since we met, I said something that actually made her nervous. That depends. Do you want to keep pretending, or are you ready to talk about leaving? Her answer? A long, long pause. And then she whispered, you wouldn't dare. But she was wrong, because I already had. She stood frozen in the hallway, still trying to figure out if I was bluffing. But the truth was, there was nothing left to threaten. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't begging. I wasn't broken. I was done. She spent the night in the guest room. Didn't talk. Didn't knock. I think part of her expected me to cool off, maybe wake up confused, willing to forgive. But in the morning, she found a man who had already moved on from needing her approval. I made coffee, ate breakfast. I didn't even look up when she walked in. That was the loudest message I ever sent without saying a word. By noon, she asked, what do you want from me? I said, peace. She laughed, but it was hollow now. She knew I meant it. She tried one last attempt at control, offering a compromise, tears, guilt. But it was too late. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. And nothing terrifies a manipulator more than someone who no longer reacts. 3 days later, she moved out. No screaming. No slamming doors. Just quiet packing and a final silence between us that felt cleaner than any closure she could have given me. I changed the locks the next morning, changed the locks on my life, too. Now, I sleep. I eat. I work. I walk with my shoulders back and no invisible weight crushing my spine. I'm not bitter. I'm not broken. I'm just better. And you know what's funny? The day she left, I found a sticky note in the back of my desk drawer. I'd written it during one of our early fights, back when I still thought all of this was my fault. It said, maybe you're just hard to love. I stared at it for a moment. Then I laughed, because now I know I was never hard to love. I was just easy to use. But not anymore.